What's poppin', fam? What's happening with the family? Appreciate each and every last one of y'all for joining me for this episode of TSC Unleashed. We in the building. Shout out to the fam, man, and this one here. This is an interesting one, fam. I told y'all last night on the Sports Coma that I was coming back at you today with this one. Is really interesting. Now, listen, this was something that was developing for a while. You can go all the way back to October when Ice Cube was talking about this, but it's really coming to the forefront. He did several really interesting interviews, one in particular from a gentleman called Bootleg Kev online. You can check him out, have a lot of really interesting content. He did an interview with Ice Cube. We'll be playing a snippet of that piece of the interview with Ice Cube speaking very frankly about what the NBA is doing, and that he speaks of it and the way he defined it as that I listened to what he was saying. And it's pretty much economic warfare. So, I mean, I'll let Ice Cube lay it out. But just to give you a little backdrop on it, this is an article right here from Vibe. Ice Cube accuses the NBA and ESPN of trying to destroy, he used the term destroy, quote unquote, his Big Three league. And it's really interesting here that we peer into this thing. But let me give you a piece of this interview for a little backdrop if you guys are not familiar with it. But first, before I do that, please feel free, family, to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and feel free to share. That's right, share the show on your social media feed. We up in this thing. Shout out to the fam. This is a really interesting story on TSC Unleashed. We usually look for, some of the hot button topics of the sports world. This one is kind of going back to October, but really it's taken off in recent interviews. Is Ice Cube's message. He's taking this message to a lot of the interview streams, and he's making mention of the fact that what the NBA is doing and other avenues, and we'll delve into that on this episode of TSC Unleashed. So shout out to the family. Here we go. Ice Cube has accused the NBA and ESPN of attempting to destroy his Big Three league, his basketball league, pointing to the two entities' refusal to acknowledge the Big Three's innovations and contributions to the sport. The 53-year-old rapper and actor, has allegations were revealed in his response to the former NBA star and Big Three participant Stephen Jackson's recent promotion of the league and its benefits on social media. He says, "We definitely need everybody's support." Cube wrote in his own tweet this Saturday, and this, of course, this goes back to the 18th when he was, as you can see, Stephen Jackson was giving him support. And he said, "This isn't the first instance in which Cube has sent shots at the NBA. Back in 2020, the former NWA member alleged that the league had adopted the Big Three's Elam rule as a part of its All-Star game that year. The rule, which was implemented since the Big Three's inaugural season in 2017, stipulates that the game clock is turned off after the first three quarters, with the first team to reach a predetermined score earning the victory. The forward thinking of the Big Three has taken our credit for helping the NBA make the fourth cue of yesterday's All-Star game one to remember." Now, Cube wrote in a tweet, which included a photo of the Big Three's biggest stars. "Many will try to pull the Elam rule out of their you-know-what, but we proved in 2017 that no game clock is in the future." So Ice Cube just dropping it, man, and talking a lot of stuff about what happened and what's going on. And we're going to play some of that interview as well. So, yeah, he talks a lot about it, man. It talks about some of the entities when you talk about the NBA and ESPN. Now, the Big Three League is very interesting, is very innovative. But let me tell you something. I'm going to say this during the stream about the NBA. The NBA is ran by lawyers. I doubt most of those guys know how to dribble a ball. They're mostly lawyers, really intelligent people, and they're business people. So at the time, even though Cube might see his league as just like a compliment, as he calls it, to the NBA doesn't see it like that, because most monopolistic organizations don't see themselves. They don't like competition in the smallest variety. Now, they know that if the Big Three grow, that it'll become a Big Five league, no doubt about it. Listen, let me just be honest with you here. From a business perspective, Ice Cube is a businessman. He knows that the Big Three could exist in this sphere because he calls it a compliment, because it uses half of the floor. They don't run full court, it's half court, and there's only three players. Now, eventually, when it starts to grow and more teams will come, then the Big Three league will eventually morph into a Big Five league, and they'll be using, a Big Five, and then ultimately it'll become a full-fledged league when they'll be using the full court and everything. I'm telling you, the NBA sees it, and they don't like the competition because they're a monopoly league. And that's the same with the NFL and in Major League Baseball. These monopoly leagues do not like other leagues competing with them. And they'll use little techniques to squeeze you out. So let's listen to what Cube had to say, family, about this, because Ice Cube is a very interesting brother, really smart businessman. Here's his thinking on what's going on with this whole situation. And it's very weird because, not weird, but very intriguing, because he says Silver has got to go, and Cube knows, I don't know if he knows this or not, but Silver is the guy that's appointed by the NBA. He's not exactly the NBA. He is a spokesman for all of the owners. So when the owners tell him something, he gets up there and he speaks it to you like it's coming from him. But none of this is, he works for the owners. So whatever he's saying, the owners are saying. So here it is.
Cube, I saw you talk about Big Three and kind of Adam Silver's like lack of support.
Yeah. He need to go.
I saw you. I mean, you're obviously a big NBA fan. Historically, you've been one of the biggest Laker fans.
Yes.
Sitting courtside all the years.
Yeah. Well, I was in my suite. I wasn't foot on the wood, but I was.
Would you say your lack of approval of a guy like Adam Silver has affected you watching the product as a fan?
Of course. Understanding the things that they're doing to prevent the Big Three from growing. Mainly considering our league as competition, which is fucking ridiculous. We're 3-on-3. We've been around 6 years. They're 5-on-5. They've been around 76 years.
Right.
It's no competition. We're complementary.
I agree.
But labeling us competition prevents other NBA owners from investing. And if you even think you want to own an NBA team, you won't invest, because this would disqualify you if you invest in a Big Three before you bought your NBA team.
Wow.
So it eliminates a lot of potential investors. They also are, going to sponsors that they work with and telling them, don't work with the Big Three.
Let's pause it right there. That's what you call economic warfare. That's economic warfare. And that's what monopoly leagues do. And that's what Ice Cube is experiencing, playing in the sphere of competitive sports. You got other businesses that see Cube's league as a threat. That's the only reason why they would perform this type of way, and tell sponsors who are working with them, don't work with them if you want to work with us. So yeah, this is a monopoly squad. And the reality is, Adam Silver is a very smart man. He's just a mouthpiece for the owners. Whatever the owners say, Adam Silver does. It's the same with Goodell and any other commissioner of the rest of these leagues. They created these entities. It's a business, just like the United States is, and it has a spokesperson. The spokesperson is the president. People get mad at the president. They point at him and blame him for everything. And if the angst gets enough, they just move him out the way and put the next guy up there, or lady, or whomever. Same thing. So getting rid of Silver, even if you were successful to say and get enough people to remove Adam Silver, they'll just put another guy, the deputy commissioner, up there, and he'll do the same thing the owners say. So it's not really Silver, at the top. It's the NBA's board of governors, as they're called. They don't like to be called owners anymore. They want to be called governors. It's the NBA board of governors, or the owners, that is the ones that's coming up with this, is that we don't want to compete with this. We don't like this happening. And we see this could possibly grow into something that can challenge us down the line. Let's nip this in the bud. That's the thinking of monopoly people. They can't compete in the fair market. That's the reality. That was Rockefeller and his people. He had to do really weird and creepy, corrupt things to eliminate his competition. Set up stock market falls and all. Nothing is beyond these people, to get their way, because they can't compete in a fair market. If you got two competing leagues, this is what it looks like in a competition, or really a fair competitive market for you as a quote unquote consumer. The type of calls that you see in the NBA and the NFL, if they had competing leagues next to those leagues, it will improve the quality of the game, because people wouldn't watch your league because you can't get the officiating right. You don't know what a catch is. You don't know what a catch is. You got all these cameras around, and the referee's still making wrong calls. How you looking at the replays on stuff and still getting it wrong. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of that will go away. A lot of that will simply go away if there was a competing league against the NBA that was in America that had really good pro basketball. That would also be good for the players because it'll be competitive for both leagues playing for them. It happened like back in the day with the ABA and the NBA. The NBA literally just consumed the ABA. They consumed them and grew in length. They got rid of their competition years ago. See, they remember the history when NBA was competing with the ABA, and ABA had the flair just like the Big Three did. So they're going back to their roots on here. They understand and know that now we got the G League going, and really, truth and be honest with you, look at what's happening with the NBA Developmental League, or what's called the G League now, as they're going at colleges now. Remember, they also went at LeVar Ball's league. Remember when LeVar Ball had his basketball league, and he was saying that he was going at the colleges to get these young players who want to make money, all this kind of stuff. Well, the NBA said, now we're going to take the G League and turn it into that. So they went at LeVar's league. They went at college right now, and they're getting all of these fantastic talents, and they're paying them a salary to play in the G League and turning the G League into something else. Plus, they got NBA Africa, which they're setting up a league in Africa. They got stock in all these other foreign leagues. So the NBA is a monopoly, and it doesn't like fair play, or it doesn't like fair competition. It doesn't like that. So it'll use its resources and its strength to smush out anything that it perceives as competition, even Ice Cube's G League. Here you go.
So it's a major issue. All he has to do is not include the Big Three in that clause as a competing league, and then we can work with a lot of the same people. But you know, this is a black-owned league. It has some of the greatest Hall of Famers that ever played involved in the league as coaches, from Dr. J to Rick Barry to
also people who are actively involved in like the NBA culture, who commentated on TV and all that. Yeah.
So these are, NBA legends who helped us form this league.
NBA family.
And for them to shit on it like that, I think is very disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. J, Iceman, Rick Barry, they didn't make a lot of money in the NBA, but the NBA made a lot of money off them. And for them to shit on a league that they're involved in, that's 3-on-3, to me shows that Adam Silver is out of touch.
He was supposed to bring Ice Cube and say, I would love to be a part of it, and I want you to be the president of the G League too.
We offered the NBA 10% of the league before we started.
Mm-hmm.
So we went in bearing gifts. He told us thank you, but no thank you, and then proceeded to fuck with us for these last 6 years.
What's crazy?
Let me stop it right there. That's really intriguing, really interesting that that Ice Cube, before the league started, went to the NBA and say, hey, I'm offering you 10% of the league. The NBA said no, and took the stance since its onset to try to starve them out. But this, credit to Ice Cube and the financial minds and the minds over at the Big Three, because they've been growing despite the NBA's I guess economic warfare techniques against them. They've still been growing, even though they tell ESPN don't work with them and all these other leagues, and they're just ratcheting it up on Ice Cube, and they're still growing. So it does then give Cube the mindset now that, listen, we're just gonna have to take it to him, David and Goliath style. And that's the thing, we're not a competitor, but there throughout history there have been these David and Goliath situations where you have people who naturally kind of grow or move toward the organic thing and see what they're doing, and it is hip, it is fun to watch it. It's a lot of retired players that are former NBA players, but still in all, the NBA want all the money. They want all of the money, and they don't want you there. And he mentions Adam Silver's vision. It's not Adam Silver. Silver works for the owners, the board of governors. The board of governors are the owners in the NBA. Adam Silver speaks their words. So if you did remove Adam Silver, once again, they'll just put the deputy commissioner in there, and he'll do the same thing Adam Silver's doing. So, I mean, Cube is saying that, but it's really truly the board of governors that this is going on. But it's an interesting dynamic, don't you think?
Because it's the competition part is wild. It's like you guys are obviously it's a different time of the year, right?
3-on-3.
And it's all players who are known through the NBA. So it just raises brand awareness for the NBA.
Or players that the NBA have overlooked, and they come and get our players and invite them.
I mean,
to
Joe
camp.
Johnson
They
got
invite
signed
him.
off of his run in the
Thank
Big
you.
Three again.
They invite them to the NBA camps. We have general managers coming to the game, owners, everybody comes.
You
to
think
the Big
David
Three
Stern
game.
would have embraced it?
Might have been worse.
I don't think so. But David Stern did like what we were doing, but he couldn't get involved because he's,
Ex-commissioner.
Ex-commissioner with the NBA, and Adam Silver's his guy.
They just lawyers when it comes down to it, right?
At the end of the day, they are just lawyers, and I think he's making a big mistake, and I think not embracing the Big Three will be his downfall.
Well, the thing is, and I've said this before, and I applaud Ice Cube for doing this, and I applaud a lot of people to create leagues. I've been saying this for some times, like it will really cut down the corruption side of things, because a lot of these monopoly situations, they want all the money. They're very greedy. Brother Gundam says, Q, why corporate NBA always pocket watch everybody? Everybody can eat, right? And the NBA wants all the money in that area. Whatever relationships that you get, you're going to have to earn them on your own, which is what happens anyway. And remember, all leagues started small. All of them. The NBA was a small, very small league at its onset that only allowed white players to play in the NBA. Now, all of a sudden, it's predominantly black, except when you get to the top, when it goes up to the top. But I'm saying this. I want all, there's a lot of diverse business people out there, but I would really applaud a lot of our young business people and people that's interested in creating leagues to create more leagues. We need more leagues. We need more basketball leagues. We need more football leagues. We need more baseball leagues. Remember the Negro leagues back in the day? The Negro leagues wasn't just baseball. I mean, if you go and research it, the Negro leagues was more than just baseball. But what I'm saying is competition brings a fair market. It makes the product very nice for the consumers or the people that's supporting it. It really does. These monopoly leagues, they destroy the product because all they care about is quantity over quality. Like you have all these games going on, but they're poorly officiated. You have some of the worst calls being made. They're totally inconsistent, and there's room for error. But error should be cut down a lot when you have all of these cameras that's on the court, and they're looking at all these things. And it's to the point where a lot of the calls that are being made in these leagues are not even coming from the referees on the field. They're being manipulated from some headquarter somewhere telling them what calls to make. This is ridiculous. So at some point, I'll always push that. One of the greatest things I always wanted people to do was start boxing leagues. Like when Dana White did his thing with I love that. Because what it does is it takes boxing out of this corruption, and Mayweather always talked about how cleaning up the sport. Boxing is one of the worst. Is mob infiltrated, is corrupt, there's all kind of stuff going on. If you have leagues, boxing, people setting up their own boxing organizations and setting up their own fights and having things like that, and then there's a central body with a playoff style system where it keeps out the riffraff from trying to run around different fighters to get to this. It set up like a fight schedule where you have to fight this guy. If you win this fight, you go to this fight. It's, it sets up a schedule, and then you don't see things like what's happening with Errol Spence and Bud Crawford, or what's happening with Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk. It gets these guys directly at each other, and it gets the promoters who don't want certain fights to happen because they're going to lose money on it. And the people who really matter is the outside of the fighters' health, or the people that's promoting and paying the fighters. They want to see certain fights. And that happened this year with the Crawford and Spence fight not happening, with all of the rigmarole around it with money and so on and so forth. We talk about that on Ring Kings Boxing. So I would promote more leagues, more people stepping into the field of sports and starting leagues, baseball, basketball, football, boxing. I don't care. We need more leagues, and this will help stem the corruption to a bit and force the major leagues to provide more of a better product on the court or on the field to the watchers of the sport. It would also, these sports will steal your stuff too. NBA, like Ice Cube talked about them stealing his shot clock idea. They steal stuff all the time. When McMahon had the XFL and he had all those innovations with the camera that spins around the field, that the camera above the field, the NFL stole the hell out of that. That's what they do. They steal all the time and they consume it. They don't want nobody else to make money. And that's why Mark Cuban said about the NFL that it's going to start falling down because it's not innovating. It's not doing anything. It's not fixing the systemic problems and the corruption that's happening in the sport. The referees don't even know what a catch is versus what a non-catch. NBA referees are not consistent in their calls. They let this guy run over this guy in one moment. Then the next moment they flagging you for, they throwing blowing a whistle on you on the other side. So it's totally ridiculous, and more competition helps out make a better product. Let's finish up.
Let me ask you this. Because do you think it could take somebody like a Steph Curry or like a LeBron to kind of step in and fully embrace a league like that to kind of change someone like Adam Silver's perspective on it?
Maybe. LeBron has come to our games. He went to the championship in 2019. Michael Jordan loves our league.
Shit, I'm surprised he ain't just say, give me one. I'll go one round with y'all. Just to show y'all.
I don't think he want to get out there. I think that's done past. But for the most part, he loves the league. And, people like Adam told him not to work with us. And so.
Well, I mean, Adam Silver can't tell Michael Jordan not to work for the league. Cube, come on, bro. Michael Jordan's an owner. He tells Silver what to do. See, and you got Too Short, who's a part of Mount Westmore, which is a new group that Q put together with himself, Too Short, E40, and Snoop Dogg. So, but he says, what if things been different with Stern? It wouldn't have been different with Stern. Stern would have done what the owner said. Whatever the owner said, Stern would have did, just like Adam Silver's doing. It's the same thing. And I think it's a disconnect there. He's a employee for the owners. So, I mean, there's a disconnect right there. We got to get our understanding together on that. It's not Silver's vision. It's the board of governors. It's the owners of these teams, which Michael Jordan is. And Michael Jordan wouldn't get out there because he's an owner. And he's agreeing with Adam Silver, what Silver is saying, because he told Silver that. They all agreed to that. They all are on code and they're codified and they move as one single body. And Michael Jordan is an owner in the NBA, and he's doing what the rest of the owners in the NBA are doing. Their own code with each other, and they're not going to participate with the big three because they view them as competition. That was a consensus thing among the board of governors that's freezing them out.
So it's time for this dude to go because he's showing that he's not really down with the culture.
What are the things you are going to try to do to grow the big three?
Put a better product on the court. Take care of our sponsors. Be the best innovative new league that the world have seen. And get the fans what they pay for. It's like just do better. And try to get from under these grips that the NBA has us under, because it is hurting us in more ways than one.
Yeah.
The interesting innovation is a part of it. And Ice Cube is a brother that has broken a lot of barriers in Hollywood. And he often speak in candid interviews about obstructions that he had to overcome to become successful in making movies. He's done a ton of movies. He's done music consistently. He's a successful person no matter what he undertakes. And this is going to be a challenge, unlike some of the others, because this is a sphere that is really, really intriguing. You have a big league that's been doing it 70 years longer than you have. They have cultivated these resources, and they have the power of these ESPN places. My advice to Ice Cube, like looking at the situation from afar and saying we just have to find a sponsorship. That's pretty much what it is. Find your lane, stay in it, bro. Find your lane and cruise in that lane. And just like, and I've said this on the On Q with Big Q show on Patreon, that YouTube block last night when I was dropping game. Don't worry, I'm coming out with another one for the family members for On Q with Big Q. I know y'all can't see it, but I'll do another one. But this is the thing. that we talk about from afar, just spanning out at the situation with Ice Cube. Just stay in your lane, bro. And I mean, staying in your lane means you've done great things in that lane. You built a big 3 league, and doing bigger and better. I say go big 5. Start. Eventually they're gonna morph into 5-on-5. Eventually they're gonna morph into using full court. Eventually they're gonna morph into having more teams in the big 3 league. And they're going to continue to grow. Now, at where your lane is fine because you're having success there, and ultimately you would shift lanes as you grow. And the resources are sponsors. You're going to grow with sponsors because they have sponsors at your level. Like where you are in that lane, there are sponsors that are in that sphere that are willing to work with the Big 3 league, and they'll find the Big 3 league, or the Big 3 league will find them. What I mean is, if you look at the NBA, some of the sponsors that are sponsoring NBA are Nike, Adidas, Reebok, and all these type of people, right? Well, there are other people that are shoemakers out there that are not Nike, Reebok, Adidas, and all those. Those are people that's up under them, that's in that lane where Ice Cube is cruising at with the Big 3 league. Why not look at those shoemakers, and maybe arrange deals where shoes are made by them and they'll become the official shoes of the Big 3 league? You see what I'm saying? Just a small example. Or how you can kind of do good business on that level. You can kind of take that model and spread it out across different products and services that's in that realm of where you operating at. And then eventually you all will grow together to the point where you could just more than likely become a competing interest, because ESPN is not the only person out there. There are other TV stations and platforms, and even if you have to use social media to get your games out, and they do a good job of that. They have the Big 3 channel where they play their games on their YouTube channel. If you got to send people that'll watch it, YouTube has become a big platform where you can do that. I don't know if the Big 3 has an app where you can download on your phone and catch all of the games and all this kind of stuff. I don't know if he has that. More than likely he probably does. But that's some of the stuff that the Big 3 can utilize. And just taking a page from the NBA, they're good at using technology. They really are. And they're not they're not displaced from the culture. They're using the culture. The rap songs, the rappers, the entertainers, the actors. The NBA is really good at taking actors and rappers and entertainers and ball players and putting them all together in these events and having award shows and all of these commercials you see with all of the stuff. That they're really good at that. They're a really good league. If you go to an NBA game, it's like the game is a side attraction, and the entertainment around the game is what you come there for. It's like that's how it treats you. Have all these. It's fun as hell. You have all of these events that's going on in the arena, the ring toss, and all this kind of stuff, dancing, the song, and doing all this kind of stuff. If you go to an NBA game, it's fun, and they treat the game like a side attraction to the event. So they're really good at doing that, and that's something that the NBA learned over time, how to kind of turn the NBA, and it's called the NBA experience for a reason, because it's something that very few leagues can mimic. You don't get that same experience at most of the football games. It's a lot more personable at an NBA game. So maybe we can borrow some of that, Q. We can borrow some of that. Now, he has a great environment at these games, but at the same time, I think the Big 3 will continue to grow regardless or not. And he's putting it out there, and that lessens the impact of what the NBA and ESPN is doing, because it puts their strategy on full view to say, damn, the NBA is a hating ass league like that, even though they participate in saying that, oh, we're diverse, we love, NBA cares, and all this rhetoric to soften their image to people, to show them that they're a caring league. All propaganda. At the end of the day, you see what they're doing behind the scenes. They're involved in full out economic warfare on Ice Cube's Big 3 league, to the point where they're telling sponsors that if you won't keep doing business with us, do not do business with the Big 3. That is something else totally. That's called economic warfare. Let's finish up.
Yeah, man. Shit. I was telling you, it's an entertaining product. For me, I'm like a basketball fanatic. So like, I'm just like, shit, I could watch, I don't know, Steven Jackson still play, or whoever it is,
Big 3 games are fun.
They're fun.
They are.
What's the OG's name who changed his name? He was on the Nuggets, who's balling out for y'all.
He changed his name?
Remember, he was number 1 on the Nuggets back in the day, and he got in trouble because he changed his name to his Muslim name.
Oh, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Yeah.
It's like dope to see him get buckets on like way younger dudes, because he had a bad shake in the NBA because of that.
Yeah, you know what people don't realize about the Big 3 is It's its own game. So just because you got loose in the NBA and you was the shit in the NBA, don't mean you're going to come in the Big Three and get loose, and vice versa. Just because people overlooked you in the NBA, don't mean you can't come in the Big Three and make an impact. And that's what's been happening. You know, some dudes think it's easy, but in 3-on-3, you have to have all skills. You can't have no weaknesses. You can't be a specialist. You can't be a 3-point specialist and be effective in 3-on-3.
All right, that was a snippet of the interview from Ice Cube. Very interesting, man. Very interesting, man, to see Cube's perspective on the NBA and what he said about Adam Silver has to go. Very interesting. But what do you guys think? Put it in the chat. Let me know how you feel about it, man. Ice Cube saying that the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, has to go. But even if he did go, they just put his deputy commissioner in there and they'll do the same thing that Adam Silver's doing, because this is Adam Silver's doing a job. He is doing a job for the board of governors, the owners who he works for. And the NBA is a monopoly league. If you look up, monopoly, you'll find out exactly. In monopoly, it's not fair. The rules are skewed for the person that is controlling the game to win. It's like going to the casino. You know you're not gonna break the house. It's designed for you, for them to win the majority of the time. It's a corrupt game, But like I said, I applaud the Big Three because I think it's a terrific league. It's fun to watch. I watch it often when we go to the barbershop. I take my children there. They'll usually have the games on television, and it's very fun watching the Big Three league. And I think 6 years, despite economic embargoes against the league by the NBA and some of their top sponsors, and the league is still growing like that, that's a terrific sign, to be honest, just to spread a little positive light on it. I still think that's so positive that he's still experiencing growth like that, despite the fact that they're actually telling their sponsors not to do business with them. That to me is still a very amazing thing. So with that being said, fam, that'll be it for this episode of TSC Unleashed. Please feel free to hit the like button. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button. Remember, family, we have maybe 2 more shows to go before the year ends. Remember, TSC Unleashed is going to be recorded on its own channel. I'm just doing this just to get people aware. I've been doing TSC Unleashed, I think, for a couple of years now when we talk about it. But TSC Unleashed does have its own channel. Please look it up and subscribe to it, because you'll see these type of videos over there and not over here anymore when the 2023 turns around. So just kind of get ahead of that thing, just to let you know. So with that being said, fam, put your comments in the comment section below. Tell me, what do you think about the NBA's actions toward the Big Three league and Ice Cube? How do you think that Ice Cube, what could Ice Cube and the Big Three owners do to overcome what's going on? You got like a David and Goliath situation here between the two. What measures, what do you think that Ice Cube and his league should do to overcome what pretty much are like economic sanctions, blocking out sponsorships that the NBA is doing to the Big Three? How can he overcome those things? But love to read your comments in the comment section below. So with that being said, I'm gonna get out on that. I'm gonna see most of you guys tonight on the Pelican Post-Game Report recap. Pels take on the Suns. We'll, in Phoenix, we'll have the recap. We'll open up the phone lines tonight, and also tomorrow, the Sports Coma watch party will be at 12 o'clock as the Saints and the Falcons will go at each other. We also will be there as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna holler at y'all on the flip side. Y'all keep y'all head up, and big ups to you.